Greetings, my movie ghouls. Welcome back to the final night of our Halloween countdown. 31 Days of Horror. I'm Nate, the ultimate movie geek, and tonight we watched Ghostbusters.
Make 'em hard! Ready!
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters is a film that needs no introduction. I don't need to introduce you to the characters, the city, which is probably a character in itself, or even to tell you what the story was. Let's face it, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters or heard of it, then you must be stuck in another dimension inside an icebox. So, what I wanted to talk about here is just how good the special effects are for Ghostbusters, how they shouldn't work and yet they still resonate with the audience today, and a little bit of history on why I love Ghostbusters. So firstly, I want to talk about how I first watched Ghostbusters, or how I remember it. I remember watching Ghostbusters on the telly as a cartoon. That's right, I watched the real Ghostbusters first. I bloody loved it. In fact, I've recently been watching them with my youngest son, who is a massive fan of Ghostbusters. He even went as a Ghostbusters tonight for trick-or-treating for Halloween. I loved how exciting the cartoon was. The different coloured suits, the imaginative ghosts and storylines were everything a boy growing up could ask for. Yes, compared to some of today's cartoons, continuity wasn't great. It was just episode after episode. But they did tie an episode into the film and showed us exactly how the jumpsuits went from what they were in the film to the coloured ones that were introduced. Watch it, it's a great episode. They fight themselves. But then I saw the film. We went to Woolworths and bought a couple of videos. Batman was one of them and the other was Ghostbusters. I loved it. But I gotta admit, I was scared shitless of some particular scenes. One in particular was the introduction of Zuul, or as my son calls it, the scary dog. The possession of Dana scene is something that I don't even think would get a PG rating now. Even the opening Librarian Ghost would be pushing it. So this film resonated with me as it did with a hell of a lot of others, but it shouldn't have worked. It's the mishmash of improvisation, comedy, and top-notch special effects, and it's these special effects that I want to talk about. I just want to go through a few. Columbia spent $5 million for Richard Edlund, who started his own company called Boss Films, and they specifically worked on the effects in Ghostbusters, and these are amazing. Firstly, the Librarian Ghost. This is the ghost that the Ghostbusters and the audience come across first in the film, and it must be the hook. It has to bring us in, it has to scare us and show us exactly what the film is going to be. They want us to keep watching the film, and then it's safe to say the Librarian Ghost was successful at grounding the film and easing us in to what we're about to watch. To make the effects work, actress Ruth Oliver played the ghost in human form, and since only a semi-transparent torso was required, her scenes were photographed on a stage at Edlund's entertainment effects facility, then combined with the live-action footage from the library. A puppet was made for the scary ghost shot, which only appeared in about 24 frames, but they were the greatest 24 frames ever. And it hooked us. And strangely, there was a scarier puppet that wasn't used, but that went on to be used in Fright Night. Slimer. Originally named Onion Head, it was supposed to represent Bluto from Animal House, John Belushi's ghost, who was supposed to be Venkman. He is probably the most famous and loved of all the ghosts in Ghostbusters, appearing in both films, becoming a main character in the cartoon, and reappearing in the 2016 reboot. And I reckon he'll appear in Afterlife too. The effect was made using a series of small models for the distant shots, like when he's flying around the ceiling chandelier in the hotel, and a foam rubber suit worn by Mark Wilson, who could move the body and arms. As there were wires and cables, Wilson would stand on a turntable and the camera would move around him, making it look like he was approaching the camera. This effect is great, and again, it goes down in history as one of the best. He slimed me. The two demonic terror dog-like creatures that seem to be living in Dana's fridge are a mix of large puppets and smaller stop-motion marquettes for the movement. And I suppose this is where the effects drop a bit. But even now, I feel the style and stop-motion movement makes them look janky and fairly scary looking. And I kind of prefer that to having something that's a little bit more smoother and CGI or something like that. It just looks scarier. One of the best effects is the possession scene of Dana. It's frightening, and even now, the mixture of light and slime beaming through the kitchen door, utilising as well the Nightmare on Elm Street style effect of latex that is covering the door to show a hand coming through, is brilliant. And then we have the chair scene itself, and which is terrifying, and I'd love to recreate it. The arms that come through the chair wore glove appliances, and there's 3 puppeteers positioning themselves beneath the chair. The close-up of the chair pivots before it slides into the kitchen, both the camera and the chair, with the arms removed for easy access for the puppeteers, were mounted on manually operated rotating platform. It just looks great, and when I showed this to my 4-year-old son, he was 3 at the time, yeah, bad parent, well, parental guidance, so I knew what it was like, and I covered his eyes. He always still covers his eyes at that point. He's seen it, he's watched it, because he's, you know, you get a little bit braver, don't you, when you're watching a film. But he still covers his eyes to this day. But he loves it so much. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. When I first saw these images that are on screen now, I was astounded. But at the same time, it just makes sense. Why wouldn't you make a scaled down section of Central Park and a street and place a man in a costume stepping on cars? It's clever, and even now, it looks fantastic. A portion of Central Park West and the adjacent park was constructed in miniature. Cables operating the Marshmallow Man's facial expressions ran down through the slit in the elevated set to a trolley underneath. It was manned by 4 puppeteers, and cars were positioned on the road, and they were either radio controlled or pulled by wires. And the footage was shot at 3 times normal speed to enhance the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's apparent sense of mass. If you look at the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, it looks great. You can tell it's a man in a suit, but it just, everything, the amount of work and perfection that's gone into making this shot, this scene look great, is shown within the film. It just looks perfect. Even when he stands on the church, it just looks perfect.
Nobody steps on a church in my town. 1, 2, 3,
I know it's not a review of Ghostbusters, but let's face it, Ghostbusters is a 5-pumpkin movie, maybe even 6. It's timeless and amazing. The effects of this film are one of the main reasons why this film stands the test of time. I am looking forward to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Even my son, my youngest son, all my sons, are looking forward to Ghostbusters Afterlife. We're going to book tickets and we're all going to go and see it. But I still can't find my Proton pack. I think my mum gave it away in a car boot sale. So that's it. That's the final video of our 5th Halloween countdown, 31 Days of Horror special, where we watched 31 films in 31 days. Thank you all for watching, and please, if you've enjoyed any of these videos we've done in October, why not subscribe and let us know what you thought. It's been fun and actually quite tiring, but we will be back next year to continue our 31 Days of Horror. I'll be back soon with a new In Defense Of video, Ghostbusters 2016. And for the final time this Halloween, sleep tight everybody.